Well, you know what time it is. It's 7 p.m., and that means it is time for Mission Log Live. And I'm so excited this evening. You know why? And you probably saw this on social media, but we had to do a little bit of a change up here. And that's what we do. We're kind of like that lower decks, kind of like whatever the job takes, we're going to get that job done. And I'm excited to talk Lower Decks tonight with all of you because for the very first time here on Mission Log Live, I brought in a super fantastic guest star. She's a close friend of mine. I like to call her my sis because I usually do. She is a podcaster in her own right, and I am so excited to have her on here to talk Lower Decks with all of you. I'd like to introduce all of you, the Mission Log Live audience, to my bestie, Charlene Schmidt. Charlene, how are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for bringing me on to do this. We have not talked on air about Star Trek Lower Decks yet. This is going to be the first time for us, and we get to do it on Mission Log Live.
I know.
Heck yeah.
Right? Yeah, we've talked about it like off mic. I've obviously not on the Mission Log Live mic, but you and I have been going back and forth a lot about Lower Decks, and we're going to get into all of that like really soon. But as you know, traditionally with Mission Log Live, we want to jump into the chat room. And even before that, because I'm like really bad at this, John and Ashley are really good at this. I'm really bad at this. So anything that happens tonight that's wacky sharp, blame me. You know, and the audience can blame me too. But before we do that, just to make sure that everyone knows to call into the meeting in case you want to talk to us live here on Mission Log Live, make sure that you click the Zoom meeting link or use the one tap from your smartphone or call us at 669 669-900-6833. That's 669-900-6833. So let's see who's here with us in the Facebook chat. Hello, Evelyn. Good evening or good morning or whenever you're actually watching this. And for those of you who are listening later, hello. Captain Lou, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Zach is here. We have the Paul, the other Paul, and the other Paul. All the Pauls are here. As usual, we have a trifecta of Pauls. Aaron Harvey's here with us. Dan Leckie, good to see you. And let's see who else here. Scrolling, because everyone is so excited to be here. Everyone's talking about Star Trek Day. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. Chuck Joyner's with us. Thomas Doggett's with us. And wow, Tate. Yes, the Tate is here. Tate, how good to you. Good to see you. Ellen Perry is here. David, one of the Davids, Dominic. Wow, fantastic for all of you joining us on and taking the time to join us on your Labor Day holiday. So glad to have you all with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so Char, I just want to settle in with you a little bit here and let the audience know a little bit about yourself and your history with podcasting and things of that nature, because this is our first time that our Mission Log Live crew here and our listeners and viewers are getting to know you. So take it away. Let them know everything.
We don't have enough time for my whole life story. Okay, so I'll give you the TLDR version.
About 2 minutes.
So essentially, I am almost a lifelong Star Trek fan. I started at age 6. Right about the time TNG was about to hit the air, my dad started watching reruns of the original series, and I started watching the show because he was watching the show. And I just thought it was so cool that these guys were out here in space. And of course, I wanted to be Lieutenant Uhura because she was the one woman on the bridge. Mm-hmm. So she was my role model. I got into it, and I started watching TNG and everything from that point forward. And so I'm almost a lifelong Star Trek fan. I love sci-fi, generally speaking. You and I, Norm, we talk about Babylon 5 all the time.
Mm-hmm. We do
and
indeed.
I got into the podcasting scene in very late 2011 doing Trek FM. The very first thing I did was the Ready Room. And I did another podcast called The Delta Quadrant, which was a Voyager review show. I eventually switched up to co-host To The Journey. That was on Trek FM. We did that for 4 years. Me and my co-host Tristan Riddell. That's right. That's what we did. That was a lot of fun. And then we did a show called Punch It for a while. I've been talking Star Trek for several years now at this point. And Tristan and I still do a show. We are doing commentary tracks for Lower Decks episodes.
And that is on which network?
The Nerd Party.
Okay, so if you want to hear more of Shar after this, you can check her out on the Nerd Party Network. And I just want to let you all know that no, Lou, don't worry, or who asked us in the chat, that John has not been assassinated or eaten by some type of shape-shifting alien. Both John and Ashley will be back. Hopefully, if Tendi and Rutherford get all their T-88s in order and, make sure that their diagnostics are working perfectly. We'll have John and Ashley back next week. But for the rest of the remainder of this evening, sit back, settle in. We are going to get into some lower decks very soon. But before that, we have a lot of housekeeping to take care of because there's a lot of Star Trek content that's coming up that's not necessarily Mission Log Live related, but we want to let everyone else know what's going on in the Star Trek universe. So what do we got coming up, Shar?
Well, we've got a very important day coming up tomorrow, as a matter of fact, because it's September 8th, and that means it is Star Trek Day. And we're going to have all sorts of fun stuff to look forward to. It's basically going to be an online convention. There's going to be panels and celebrity guests, news and announcements from the world of Star Trek. There's going to be exclusive merchandise. Well, you have my attention. Ooh. You can find out more at StarTrek.com. Also, very important tomorrow, for every person that tweets the hashtag Star Trek United Gives from 12 a.m. until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, CBS All Access will donate $1 to organizations who do the real-world work of championing equality, social justice, and the pursuit of scientific advancements. That's super cool. These organizations include the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, the National Action Council for Minorities in Engineering, and the Equal Justice Initiative.
So make sure that you check out what's going on with Star Trek Day, which is, obviously is going to be 9/8 because that's when the very first episode, The Man Trap, came out in 1966. So that's right. Big anniversary for Star Trek fans. Also, on September 9th, this Wednesday, September 9th, Roddenberry is hosting a special guest. That would be Will Wheaton, or for some out there, Will Wheaton, on Sansar, on the Sansar VR program. So we'll be hanging out starting at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and playing sort of a kind of a dating game spoof, quote unquote, Do You Seek Jamaharan with Will.
Oh my.
So join us for free. Just sign up on your free account at sansar.com and connect with any PC running Windows 7 or higher. You can join in VR or PC desktop mode. Now, here's a little bit about what's going on with that game show. Do You Seek Jamaharan? And this is a little bit of a write-up that's on sansar.com. If you seek peace, be still. If you seek wisdom, be silent. But if you seek Jamaharan, it's time to join Will Wheaton in an absolutely out-of-this-world virtual game show that puts love to the test. Join Will Wheaton and host John Champion for a very special Trek edition of Be My Boo in Sansar, the live game show that puts your trivia skills, creativity, love, and improv abilities to the test. And bonus round. Make sure to attend, as the next clue in the Roddenberry recovery mission will be announced by Will himself. Now, we'll say that again. For all of you who are playing the Roddenberry recovery mission, make sure that you are there for the Sansar game show when Will announces this very special next clue. Will find his virtual connection on this Sansar Do You Seek Jamaharan? We will see.
That sounds pretty cool. Later this month, we still have more cool stuff happening. CBS is going to be showing Disco Season 1 on broadcast TV. Let's not forget about that and show some support, boost those numbers, right? Let them know that, hey, this is a cool thing. It's going to be on at 10 p.m. Eastern Time starting Thursday, September 24th.
So much Star Trek coming at us all at once. A deluge of Star Trek, if you will.
Yeah, you know how in the 90s we considered that the golden age of Trek? What are we calling this?
The next golden age of Trek?
Because it feels more like a renaissance.
Oh, how avant-garde of you. Yes, a renaissance of Star Trek. So lots of Star Trek coming up. Make sure that you check those out. Make sure you check out all the links to all the various Star Trek projects that are going to be coming up very soon. Now, as we do, we're going to jump right into the recap here because we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Cupid's errant arrow. And I'm going to keep this a little shorter here because we want to hear from you. We have a lot of callers already in the queue, and we have a lot of chat going on right now in the chat room. So here's the recap of, again, Cupid's errant arrow.
Do it.
The USS Cerritos teams up with the far more advanced USS Vancouver to assist with a controlled demolition of the moon, posing significant environmental, religious, and political risks to the inhabitants of Mixtus 2 and 3. It's up to Captain Carol Freeman to smooth over the increasingly volatile situation with the respective habitants of the Mixtus system. We'll return to her story in a little bit. In the lower decks quarters, Ensign Boimler bursts with excitement to see Barbara Brinson, his not holodeck version of a girlfriend serving on the Vancouver. Upon meeting her, Ensign Mariner is convinced that this gorgeous blonde lieutenant is far more than Boimler realizes. She must be an android, or a shapeshifter, or a Cardassian spy surgically altered to look like a human, or a salt monster from planet 133, or M133, or a Suliban. A Suliban! Because how could someone like Brinson be possibly interested in someone like Boimler? Mariner's paranoia turns into a series of catastrophic events trying to expose Brinson for who she really is, or who Mariner thinks she really is, and she'll stop at nothing to save Boimler from the tragedy that she was unable to prevent years ago. On Deep Space Nine, Mariner helplessly watched as Angie, one of her close crewmates, was devoured by Nico, the most perfect man ever, who turned out to be a Harvungian shapeshifter. Raise your hand, though, if you thought Mariner's hair was freaking adorable. It was fabulous.
Oh, so good.
Deciding to tour the Vancouver for themselves, Ensigns Tendi and Rutherford wind up in an engineering competition designed by the Vancouver's chief engineer, Lieutenant Commander Ron Docent, who tells them that the winner will take home their very own T-88 scanner. Ready, set, and run diagnostics. Meanwhile, after Mariner's most recent and spectacularly failed attempt to expose Brinson for being a flesh-eating shapeshifter, both Brinson and Boimler decide to restart the day and head for one of the orbital platforms she thought to monitor the moon's demolition. But Mariner isn't one to give it so easily, and when she thought she was wrong, she steps on a parasitic husk. And once again, the game is afoot. Or, well, underfoot. Mariner sprints through the Vancouver. Move, Jennifer! Dons an environmental suit and launches herself at Boimler's orbital platform, where upon entering, she finds him in full semi-censored lover mode. Suddenly, a shockwave from the decaying moon rocks the orbital platform and Boimler stumbles, knocking himself unconscious, hitting his head on the control console. As Brinson walks in, both she and Mariner warn the other to stay away from Boimler. Cue gamesters of Triskelion fight music. Well, hey, I can throw in a Star Trek reference too, you know. Back on the Vancouver, it turns out that Tendi and Rutherford were both being scammed by Engineer Docent. His plan was for them to be transferred to his ship all along, while he would take their position on the Cerritos. He admits to both of them that he just can't handle the epicness of the Vancouver's missions, and just wants a far less complicated assignment and a much simpler life. Tendi and Rutherford let him off the hook, provided he cancels their transfer, along with sending them home with their very own T-88 scanners. During the heat of battle, Mariner and Brinson discover that they have more in common with Boimler than they thought, and both were just being overprotective of their resident ne'er-do-well. After swapping some fairly embarrassing stories about him, Mariner scans Brinson to prove that she's human, but finds traces of parasitic residue in the room. When Boimler hit his head, he dislodged an actual parasite that was nesting under his scalp, and after removing the love bug, Brinson discovers that it secretes a pheromone that makes a potential mate even, well, more potential. Looks like this was all just a big misunderstanding. Mariner wasn't exactly right, Brinson wasn't exactly wrong, and poor Boimler wasn't exactly what he thought he was, meaning a cool enough guy to land someone as fantastic as Lieutenant Brinson, like Jet, the hunky second coolest guy on the Vancouver. But hey, at least Brinson and Mariner are now besties, having bonded over girl stuff, meaning Boimler's past embarrassments. Finally, back on the Cerritos, Tendi and Rutherford are back to fixing the ship, but have a few surprise gifts for each other. Sacks full of T-88s, which in the end only add more fuel to the speculation that we, as their shippers, will see them come closer together in future episodes. The end. Well, wait, not the end. Captain Freeman eventually solved the issue with the enraged Mixtus delegate, one of the two that inhabited this planet that was holding up the moon's controlled explosion to begin with. You'd be overprotective, too, if you just installed new floors. Well, at least they didn't violate the Prime Directive. The end. End.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, you know what? We're going to jump into our thoughts a little later on in the show. I know that you want to talk about this big time, but we have a lot of people now actually signed into the chat or to the call center. So, what do you say we take a few calls and
Let's do
see
this.
what our listeners are up to? And the first caller we have is BC.
Ella Marine, hello.
BC, how are you?
Okay. Well, of course, as soon as I saw that Shar was going to be here, I had to call in first.
It's good to see you too, BC.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We just saw you guys like 24 hours ago or 7 hours ago or something.
BC, can you do me a huge favor and turn up your volume a little bit?
Is my volume down?
A little bit.
Quiet.
Let's see.
But as BC is doing that, we have to
Better?
take note
More
of
better?
more better.
Better now?
Yes, your fabulous background being the CNC of Babylon 5.
Yes, love it.
I've lost your audio. This is awesome.
No, we can hear you.
can
I
hear
can hear you
you.
now. Keep talking.
Okay, you're coming back. There you are. I think I hear you.
We got
All
you.
right.
No, I don't hear you.
Uh-oh. Technical difficulties.
Something strange is happening.
Oh, no. Parasite?
It might be a parasite.
Little
Cardassian spy? I'm going to get to work on the conspiracy board.
Got
I
it.
say
Okay, you're
Suliban.
Suliban.
He's not a Suliban, Shar. Don't say that about him.
Wait, what? I'm gone for a second and now I'm a Suliban. What's going on? All right.
That's
You
how
tell
fast
us.
this show works.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
So what's happening, man?
Just chilling here on Labor Day. I didn't know if there was going to be a show, but I guess there had to be a show because there was an episode. I enjoyed this one a good deal. It had lots of interesting callbacks to various things.
Just a few.
Am I gone again?
No, you keep going. You're doing great.
Okay.
No, you're there. You're fine.
Okay, and sometimes your volume goes away, and then I don't know if I can be heard. There's the obligatory Kirk reference, but I forgot what it was. I didn't take notes. I'm sorry. Do you remember what that one was? It was towards the beginning.
Are you talking about Kirk Sunday with Trip Tucker Sprinkles?
That's the one.
Because that was my favorite.
That's our first Enterprise callback, I think.
And there were two in this episode.
Oh, what was the other one?
It was the Suliban reference.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Suliban.
Someone needs to be watching a little more Enterprise, bro. Don't worry. This is why I have Shar on. Shar is sharp as attack. Sharp as attack.
Sometimes.
It's been a number of years since I've seen Enterprise. Okay, so.
Don't worry, me too.
It's very, very fuzzy. No, that was a pretty good episode. There's the ongoing sort of very, very meta aspect of this show, which is amusing, which makes me feel like it's really geared. It's really a show for Star Trek fans, in spite of the fact that maybe some people might get into Star Trek this way, but I'm thinking maybe not so much because, well, it's a little bit like MST3K in that some of the jokes go right over the kids' heads and the adults get them, and so maybe, the kids will laugh at the humor and then later on they'll realize, oh, there are other things going on. It kind of plays on multiple levels.
But that's not necessarily like a bad thing. Shar, you and I were talking about this before where, if this is somebody's entry point into Star Trek and there are like a ton of references that they don't get, it's almost kind of like with today's audiences, if they don't get a reference, then they have the internet to basically look up everything almost simultaneously as things happen. So, it's not like you have to wait or go to a library. What are those? And then like find books and magazines and talk to their nerd friends. And no one wants to do that because they don't want to say, to say, hey, you got a leg up on my nerd cred, so, right. But you're right, BC, that there are a lot of references being dropped, especially in this episode.
Oh, yes. So much to unpack. Even on this conspiracy board alone, you could stare at that for a good while and just pinpoint each one of those pictures. And that's a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can spend where's John when you need him? There's the whole trivia section of this show could just be John going through all of the references in every Lower Decks episode.
That would be the hour.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with it. We can't do that.
When I was doing the write-up, I literally had to condense as much as I could because if I stopped to basically talk over every plot point, every reference, it would be tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so dense.
The one other thing I thought of that came to mind afterward was Boimler's walking around spreading a disease or a parasite, not really spreading it, but potentially spreading a parasite all over the ship, and no one seemed to be aware of it. And I just didn't know if that was a commentary on our current times or not.
Well, considering
I hadn't
that,
thought about
this was like produced, well in advance, unless they knew something or,
True.
Yeah, but for some odd reason, there are a lot of things that are just coincidentally coming to bear, like on either like current, the current politics or the current situation that's going on, like in the world state. With the parasite, it was an interesting parallel that you can draw. But the thing is that these guys had these things well in the can before this happened. So I don't know, maybe prophetic. I don't know.
I'm sure it's more a coincidence or anything. It's just it was an amusing aside that I had when I was like, that's interesting. And the two people on that planet, like
right, yeah,
two people on that planet, and they're like, guarding it, with tooth and nail, and that reminded me of certain other events in current history that I won't get into.
But the floors, they just redid them.
Oh,
yeah,
the floors. All right. I didn't know what else.
BC just skips right over that. You know what? The floors, yeah.
That is the appropriate response.
Floors, yes.
I'll tell you what, though. As someone who's going to be putting in new floors fairly soon in a completely different project, I'd fight for new floors. And I would throw the prime directive at someone. He's like, "Hey, look,
are they parquet floors or?"
They are engineered wood, hand scraped. So,
oh my gosh.
I would
Sounds
fight for
fancy.
Those. Yeah,
I don't even know what that means.
Well, they're engineered scraped by hand, which means they were scraped by robots.
Ah.
Yeah. So
what you're saying is you don't want me to blow up your house before you sell it.
I'd rather not.
Okay. I'll take note. I mean, I
that insurance money would be good. Yeah.
They don't have to know.
What else you got on your mind there, BC?
Not much. I should probably let many of the other callers in here, but it was good to see you kind of face to face for once.
Yeah, more or less good to see you.
BC gets to chat with John and I live every once a month on our Patreon live call that's exclusive for Patreon members. Plug, not afraid to be shameless about it.
Hey,
that was subtle. Good. Well done.
This is what I do. All right, man. Well, if there's nothing left that's a conspiracy or coincidence, really nice to see you again, BC. Nice to see you in the CNC. And really fantastic dramatic downlighting that you got going on there.
Yeah, it's not intentional. I really got to work on my lighting, but I'm glad to see that the Zocalo's slow takeover of Roddenberry is now complete.
This is how the shadows work.
Well, I had to have CNC here because Char's here. It's a special occasion.
Absolutely. I appreciated it.
All right. Thanks, BC, for calling in, man. And we will see you soon.
See you guys.
Take care. And next up on this very fast and very full call center, we have Chris coming up with the next call.
Hey, guys. Good to see you, Norm. Nice to meet you, Cher.
Hello.
Yeah, good to be here once again. Very nice. This is week 2 back-to-back. We had 2 really solid Mariner episodes. Last week we had the thing with her mom, and now this week we had her sort of quest with Boimler, which I really liked. I liked because I think Mariner tries to sort of play off like how much she cares about the other lower deckers. She's like, oh, I'm kind of aloof and whatever. But she does really like them, and so I like that we sort of got that moment this week of like when push came to shove, even if she maybe wasn't going about it in the best way, she does really care about Boimler, and I think also the other lower deckers. So that was sweet, yeah.
You know, one of the things, and maybe, Shar, you can help me with this, and you too, Chris, is that I'm trying to find a sense of maybe how old Mariner is, because we did see that fantastically illustrated flashback to Deep Space Nine, you know, when she was serving there and her friend Angie got eaten by Noki, which was awesome. Not awesome, but awesome, you know, in an animated way.
Yes, that.
And I don't know, whoever's going to hear this, maybe like Mike McMahon, maybe Chris Kula, please do something with that hairstyle again. Please. It was so rocking. That hairstyle was tight.
I want to see her off duty and wearing that hair out instead of the ponytail because it is so good. Yeah.
But sure, how old do you think Mariner is?
That's a good question, right? Because it makes this flashback makes it seem like it's a little further back than I was anticipating, where I always assumed Mariner to be maybe in her later 20s. Maybe she's in her earlier 30s. She might be a good 10 years older than Boimler.
Yeah?
Yeah,
That's my current guess.
The whole thing, I was sort of the way I picture it is Mariner, I think, is maybe like late 20s, early 30s, like you said. Boimler's probably like 23, 24, and then Tendi and Other Third are like 20 or 21. Because I know they referenced, is it Descent, the episode with Lore and the Borg?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they referenced that, so I'd have to go look at the timeline and see how many in-universe years passed. But yeah, I'd say she's probably late 20s, early 30s. She's definitely been around a lot, and I think that sort of is her character, is that she, even though she's an ensign, she has all this knowledge from serving on prior ships and her prior sort of work experience.
Well, I mean, it would be interesting to see like what rank she was before she bumped herself down or got bumped down to ensign, because obviously she's been on a lot of missions. Obviously, she has a lot of contacts and she has a lot of experience. That doesn't just happen overnight, and that doesn't happen without actually going out there on a starship and actually being part of away team missions and making diplomatic relationships and having the experience to be able to know aliens, shape-shifting or otherwise, like on site. So that's not like a, a 1 or 2 year stint. I mean, we're talking like, yeah, I think a decade's probably the right call. Shar, what do you think?
Yeah, very likely. The whole thing with them referencing Data and Lore and the whole Borg thing makes it seem way further back than I kind of wonder if it actually is. Are they just hearing about this in a certain amount of time? And then, of course, making the fantastic joke, seems like everything happens every week on that ship because they're doing epic things. Am I right?
Right, exactly. Epic things.
Epic things. It's a lot of pressure. Yes. So I don't know. A little bit of clarification would be good on that, just because it does seem a little muddy.
And maybe it's an animation style thing, but obviously with the captain of the Vancouver, she had like the double tint going on in her hair, which means she's a more mature woman. You have the captain of the USS Cerritos, Captain Freeman. Well, not Captain Freeman, but yeah, Captain Freeman. She has like the one kind of tinted stripe going through her hair, so that's kind of like the stylization of mature woman. But Mariner's not there. Like Mariner's not, not a wrinkle on her face or
right.
any kind of significant detail that shows that she's a different age from when she was, say, like on Deep Space Nine. And by the way, amazing rendition of that. What did we decide that class was, Char? It was the
the ship. It's an Olympic class, if I'm recalling correctly.
Like the
Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So,
yes.
What did you think about Chris? I mean, did you like the Deep Space Nine reference? Did you like the way it was handled?
I like that. I like that it's not like super in your face about it. I honestly didn't catch it the first time. My eyes went directly to the ship. I'm a big fan of that sort of Olympic spherical type thing. But yeah, I like that it's not hitting you over the head with it, because they hit you over the head with a lot of TNG stuff, which I think is sort of the way Lower Decks works. Is it's a TNG kind of quasi parody. And so I like that, like, we acknowledge that other things are out there. We'll make references to Trip Checker Sundays and, have DS9 as a kind of a matte painting in the background. But we're not, like, hitting you on the head with every single reference, every single sentence, which I enjoy. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Shar, I don't know if you know this, but when Ashley and I were on 2 shows ago, we made reference that Chris is actually the guy in the towel that always makes an appearance in Lower Decks.
All right.
Yeah.
That's in my head canon now.
Yep. So he's here back, guy with a towel. Yeah.
Okay.
I miss
Chris.
I miss his cooling towel. I miss your cooling towel from the last time that I saw you.
I know. That happened. I was outside. Obviously, I got to get outside more, break out the cooling towel, just for you, Norm.
I need that right now.
Maybe week 7, not next week, but the week after. I'll step outside, show it off for you.
That was definitely a very special Starfleet. Starfleet approved, authorized look. I thought it was fantastic. Perfect for away missions. We do have a bunch of people calling in. So, Chris, if there's anything else on your mind, let's get a couple more thoughts before we take a break for Eagle Moss identification.
Yeah, just want to do a quick little lightning round here. So we've seen 4 ships so far on Lower Decks, and all 4 ships have been named after cities. We've had the Cerritos and the Merced, obviously. We've had the Parliament class Vancouver and the Olympic class Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador, I looked up the other day. And so I'm curious, if you could name a ship after a city, California class or otherwise, what would you pick?
Oh, I've got it. The USS Covina, baby. Because that's where I am.
All right.
I actually had this in mind a long time ago, when I was a wee lad. And I'm from a small town called Alliance, Ohio. So I always wanted to see the USS Alliance. I always thought that would be neat.
Nice. Yeah, I would have to pick either California class Emeryville or Lompoc, because that's where my grandparents are from, each side of the family.
Yeah.
So definitely, cool. Very nice.
Cool.
All right, Chris. Well, it's good to see you again. And hopefully next time, put it on your active roster duty apparel that next time we'll see you with your cooling towel headgear, which was
all
unique
right.
and
Sounds
awesome.
good.
All right, buddy. Take care. Good to see you again. Thanks for calling in.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
All right. So before we get into the next caller, it's time to do our thing, because one of the things that we love talking about here on Mission Log Live, Char, if you've seen the shows, and I know that a lot of people are fans of this product, and I am, John is as well. Even Ashley has kind of like showed off a little bit of her collection on screen live. So we're going to be talking about the Eagle Moss official Star Trek Discovery Starships collection. Now, here are a few fun facts. And for those of you who are new to the show and are watching it right now, these are facts that you definitely need to know if you want to start a fantastic collectible Starship collection. So these are officially authorized by CBS Studios as the official Star Trek Discovery Starships. Their collection is only available from Eagle Moss Hero Collector. The special collection features brand new ship concepts and designs from both seasons of CBS Star Trek Discovery, and will include ships from the upcoming Season 3, which is going to be launching on September 24th. Each has gone through extensive reference study and has been reproduced under the supervision of Star Trek expert Ben Robinson for accuracy and detail. And we thank you for that, Ben. You've been doing a fantastic job in that the quality control department there for the exactness of those ships. The first thing you may notice upon receiving your first ship in this collection is the USS Baran. It's the NCC 1422. It's the larger size ships, about 9 inches long, just a little over 9 inches long from the front of the saucer to the rear of the quad style nacelles. Those quad style nacelles are super cool. Have you seen this ship, Char? This actual product?
I have not. So I got to check this out. It sounds fairly big.
Well, it's 9.5 or almost 9.5 inches big. So
yeah.
But the quad style nacelles are neat because they're kind of reminiscent of, say, like the USS Stargazer, right? That really cool, like top two, bottom two nacelles, and it's a very unique look. And obviously, the Baran is, if everyone has watched Star Trek Discovery, that the Baran was destroyed under nefarious circumstances, very quite possibly by Captain Lorca himself. Captain Lorca. Yeah, oh my. All the ships in this collection are the larger scale, made of die-cast metal and ABS materials, much like the smaller ships for any other ships in their collection, and hand-painted with reference to the actual CG models used in production. Each ship also comes with a display base plus the collector's magazine, featuring behind-the-scenes info, original design sketches, and a breakdown of technology on board. And those magazines are almost just as impressive as the ships themselves. They're super cool, super detailed, great reading, great reading. Start your collection today with the Cartagena-class USS Baran, the NCC 1422, destroyed by Captain Lorca, as I said before, in the opening episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Available to subscribers through this Mission Log Live offer, this special Mission Log Live offer for only $9.95 with free shipping when you go to www.herocollector.com/missionlog and sign up with the promo code MISSION, MISSION, at checkout. Now, additional models in this collection will include the Discovery, of course, as the name of the show is the Star Trek Discovery, the NCC 1031, the USS Kerala, the NCC 1255, and the reimagined Klingon Bird of Prey, and so many more. If you go to their website, you'll be able to see the entire collection, or the entire collection that's available right now, and they're fantastic to look at. Then ship monthly at 20% discount off the standard retail price, also with free shipping. Subscribers are also entitled to free gifts worth over $100.
Woo!
$100. Those are a lot of really good free gifts. Again, those are available. Those details are available on herocollector.com, and you can cancel your subscription at any time if you want to. So,
but why would you?
That's what I say, But But things being the way they are right now, I understand like the dollars are stretched only so thin. So if you want to find the ship that you want, you can find that at www.herocollector.com/mission log. Remember, for your special offer. And if you want to purchase your ships individually, you can also do so online there at shop.eaglemoss.com or do so at your local comic book shop for the regular price of $54.95 each. Now, all that out of the way, let's get back to our next caller. And I'm surprised that you, Vice Admiral, weren't first on the list. Maybe your trigger finger was a little sleepy today, but usually...
No. It's always good to shake it up, right? We don't need me in the order at the front every time.
But that's what the rank is for. It's Vice Admiral's there for a reason.
No, it's just there so that I can ignore other people that that aren't.
Well, it's good to see you again, my friend. So what'd you think about this week's episode?
Oh, lovely. It was a lot of fun. And two things. First thing, as we talk about the ships, obviously they were presenting the Parliament class as superior in every way to the California class, right? Including, its crew, its scanners, just about everything. And I loved that as the episode begins, you see the Cerritos, and then the Vancouver just comes and completely obscures it in the shot until you can't see the Cerritos at all. Totally eclipses it. And I'm like, well, I see how this is going to happen, right?
Next on the Eagle Moss collection, the USS Vancouver.
Interrupting in the way.
Yeah, that was just a lovely scene. I loved it. So, but one of the running things I have to wonder about is why is this T-88 so hard to get? Why can't you just replicate it? And how easy is it to steal a boatload of tech from a ship with nobody noticing?
I thought the exact same thing.
This was also in my notes. 1, they stole them. 2, can't they just replicate them? Why can't you do that on the Cerritos? And 3, these look like just really elaborate scanners. Like you would go around in Target and scan stuff for a registry. How cool can they be?
Here's the thing. It's like, first of all, anyone who wants to do their cosplay, you know where to get those. So you can get your T-88s, right? I'm sure that in the next Star Trek convention, there are going to be people with like silver duffel bags just dumping T-88s in front of people's feet.
They will.
Or maybe people that are like, I don't know, I kind of dig that girl. She kind of digs me. Maybe if I bring her like a bag full of T-88s, we can seal the deal. Right?
Tell you what, if you can't get the Geordie Bear and the red flowers, that's your next go-to.
Yeah, T-88s for sure.
T-88s.
Nothing like that. There's nothing better on a first date. Right? But you're right, Vice Admiral. I thought that the same thing. And the only thing that I could come up with, just tech-wise, because that's what we do the tech, we tech the tech, is that there are some type of signature chips in the inside of the T-88s that make them unreplicatable. I don't know. Some type of power signature that they can't recreate, and it's the only thing that allows the T-88s to activate.
But obviously nobody stops them from being transported to another ship in mass, right? So.
I can only work so many miracles in one show.
Fair enough.
Right. And I suspect we're not going to see any consequences of Tendi and Rutherford stealing all of these. Even if somebody finds out, we're probably not going to hear about it, are we?
Nope.
Which is interesting, because I kind of debated back and forth in my head, how consequential, how important is it to have a bone to pick with this? Because they stole them. That's not very Starfleet of them. But then on the other hand, does anybody care? Is anybody really going to care? And it's in the name of friendship. It's a cute little punchline. How seriously should we take this?
There must have been like at least 25, 30 of them on the floor by the time that they dumped out their duffel bags. So
I was hoping for 47, but there were nowhere near enough.
No. But it's just weird that, I mean, like getting one or two, that's fine, because they did that deal with Docent. We're going to get our free T-88s. So it was just a weird thing. Yeah. It was just a strange little detail. Is it enough for me to be like, I'm never going to watch the show again? Obviously not.
No.
Because the most important thing about that entire scene was Tendi and Rutherford joining together.
Yeah, I got to ask you guys, do you ship them?
Oh, I do. I mean, I do.
Vice Admiral?
At some point, I think that it's going to happen. I don't see any way it won't. But we have to remember that they are far more, each of them, enamored of technology than I think human interaction. So
that's a fair point. Yeah. But there's that little cute little detail when they got back on the Cerritos, and then Rutherford was talking about smelling the burning, circuitry again. Then all of a sudden, just reflexively, Tendi just zaps it, shut. That's just something that someone who cares about someone that much would do, right? That's shorthand for something's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the two of them are going to always be better off together than not.
Fair enough.
Both at work and not, I think. So we'll see how it goes. But as long as we're talking about destruction, they stole a bunch of T-88s. But has anybody noticed that? Meanwhile, over on the orbital platform, they absolutely destroyed the place.
Oh, they trashed it. Absolutely, yeah. But that's why, I threw in that little reference of the Triskelion music, because I with obviously all the references that are being paid on this show, you want to hear a little bit of dun, 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 dun,
which we have once at least,
circling
for
around.
sure.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that was. Oh, and here's the other thing. I'm a big fan of the comedy show Community. When it was on.
Oh yeah, me too.
And Jillian Jacobson. I mean, as soon as Barb started, especially in her yelling voice, I was like, that's Britta. That's got to be Britta. I looked it up and was like, oh, that's Julia Jacobson. So I'm so psyched about that. Now all we need to get, are maybe Joel McHale doing like a super douchey commander or something.
I could see that happening.
Someone who out commanders Ransom in that way.
Right.
Oh, that is a story.
Right? That would be super fun. He'd have spiky hair like Ransom. He'd have 5 o'clock shadow like Ransom, but he would just turn it up a notch. And he would be on an even more impressive ship.
That's when you're going to play that fight music, is those two facing off.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Joel McHale is not one to shy away from tearing his shirt off either. I mean, that dude is quite built.
See, if this stuff writes itself.
Right?
Absolutely.
TM, Chris Kula, TM. So... So what else you got on your mind there, Vice Admiral? Before we let you go,
that's good for tonight. Let some other folks have a chance. But it was good to see you both, and hopefully I see you again at some point, Char. Norman, as always.
As always, Vice Admiral. Thank you. I will take your leave, sir.
All right,
take care, guys. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Bye. And next up, wow, this is Fast and Furious here on the call center. So next up on the list, we have Patrick. Hey,
Mr.
Patrick.
Carlin.
Hey.
And a kitty.
Yep, the younger one, Nerese.
Hi there, Nerese. You're a
Nerese. Wow.
Yep. Yeah, she's about 3 years old.
Aw. Hi, kitty.
How you doing? Nice to actually see you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think I've ever actually gotten to talk to you two on camera before. So.
Nerese is not having it with the microphone.
Well, Nerese would like a word, please.
Pay attention to me here.
So what's on your mind? How'd you enjoy this episode?
Oh well, yeah, definitely my favorite one so far of the series. I mean, I've liked all of them, but this one's definitely my favorite so far of the bunch. Any
particular reason why?
I think probably at least part of it is just probably the fact that this one episode probably doubled the references that we've gotten to past Trek.
True enough.
For all the other ones, yeah.
Hey, Patrick, let me ask you a question. The same thing, Charlotte. We talked about this offline a little bit. Do you find that endearing or do you find it distracting?
Oh, I love it. I'm always one who's on the lookout for that stuff, like whether it be on the show or when I'm reading the books or whatever. So I love it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I have to agree with Patrick here. I personally enjoy it. Some of them are a little more in your face than others, and I am finding that the more that they do put in, the more I am appreciating the subtle ones. But especially on first watch, I get a kick out of it. It's just like, hey, I see what you did. That was fun. And then once I kind of get that out of the way, then I can focus on other aspects of the story. Because they pack a lot into these 26-minute episodes.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing the countdown clock on this because one of the things that I had in my notes was one of the things I felt was a little distracting was so many references going on that I felt like I was paying attention more to the references than the original content. And to be fair, that I did say that, and that's how it settled with me the very first time I saw it. And then I looked at the timestamp. I'm like, this episode is actually less than 25 minutes long. It's probably a little over 24 minutes long. It didn't even have a cold open. And that's like rare. So when you don't have a cold open, you usually go like right into like, guns blazing right out of the gate. And they did, and this episode was a mile a minute. But what I love about this show is that the replayability to get those moments to settle win me over a little bit more. So I'm not I have to watch them over and over again, which I guess is the point, right? Because you need to get more of that to settle. Yeah.
Rewatch value.
Yeah, I've watched each one multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah. How many times did you watch this one, being your favorite one of the series so far?
I think I've watched it, I want to say 3 so far. Something like that. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, had a busy couple days. Yeah, otherwise I probably would have done a few more. But yeah, I think it's been 3 so far. One of which with the commentary too. Second contact.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, with Will. Is Will Wheaton doing that? The commentary?
Oh, no, it's Sharon Tristan's commentary.
He's talking about Second Contact. Yeah, Patrick has listened to me talk endlessly on podcasts, and I thank you for it. I love you for it.
Yeah, okay. That's very cool. You didn't mention that at the beginning, Shar, did you? Second Contact?
Sorry, no, not necessarily.
Okay, we'll get to that later on in the show.
Wait, no, I did. Sorry, wrong thing I was thinking of.
There's so much stuff going on in this show. Like, we haven't even gotten to our own notes because we have so many callers, which is fantastic.
We have great people calling in with good points, a lot of which is in our notes, so we're good.
Yeah.
One last thing to say, Patrick, before we have to let you go to get to the next caller. So, if there's anything last idea that's on your mind, what do you got?
Well, one thing that made me particularly happy was seeing DS9 pop up there.
Oh yeah, is that your favorite series?
Well, Voyager is actually my favorite, DS9 I love though. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Was that enough? Was that enough of a flashback reference for you? Yeah. Was it like enough time and just to kind of like get the point across, or do you think that it could have been longer?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was perfect. Just like as you said earlier, just like the little subtle ones are sometimes the best, and I think in this case it definitely was. But like that previous guy said, I first noticed the keto and then had to go back to be sure. I was like, wait, was that DS9?
I did the same thing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Patrick, for calling in, and I think that's fantastic that you've been following Shar's talent and her shows all this time. Yeah. And glad to have you aboard, and hope to see you again on another Mission Log Live.
Hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm usually working in the evenings, but I was off tonight, so I thought, hey, let's jump on.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah,
nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
I will see you out there in the social media waves, man. Take care.
Yep. Thanks. Bye.
All righty. Well, look who we have here. We have the Clown Prince of Mission Log. That would be Captain Lou. And finally here in the chat. How are you, Lou?
Back from the dead.
What's going on, sir?
Well, you did say that you had a lot of good people calling in with clever observations. So there should be a nice change of pace.
Hey, I include you in that entire blanket of compliments, sir.
I'm not familiar with your co-host, although I'm going to try to get her up. So is it safe to say that this episode is about Schmidt?
About Schmidt.
Nice.
Okay. That's a 7 on the
Clown Prince, living up to his name.
I got my ad-libs. I got my ad-libs all here.
On cards.
You were ready.
I'm gonna bring you some observations that I don't think at least that I didn't hear you talk about yet. And there's some questions that I have.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, and where better to bring them up. I didn't understand. Q hopped up on Captain Picard Day. Did that happen, or is that just something that's plausible? Because I was trying to remember that episode, and I didn't get those two reconciled.
I think that was intentionally left to our imaginations because no, we have not seen that, but you can envision it. Your mind can go there.
I can envision pretty much everything. So would you say the same thing about the piece of the action reference to 1920 Chicago? Nobody washed their hands.
That's what I got from it.
Because they had blood on their hands, or I could be overthinking, which is something I am never accused of.
No, I've never.
You know, in 2020, that was a really interesting reference to make, just because in the age of COVID, I don't know about you guys, I'm a compulsive hand washer now.
I think it's just because she was calling them savages. You know, they're just,
I know.
Yeah.
I'd say hold my beer, but we've been doing. I was doing that. I've developed a little OCD in terms of that. So this is not that unusual for me. I didn't. Okay, yeah, you mentioned the sexy people in the rompers. Thank God the salt vampire on planet M113 was ruled out as a suspect. I was very nervous about that for a while.
We all were. Yes.
I was waiting.
Gonna do the salt monster again. You always go with the salt monster.
Well, the thing is that if it was a salt monster, I would love to have seen like Ransom do his double axe hand chop like across her face, just in case. You know, that would be total canon.
As Norm knows, and Charlene might not, I try to use a Canadian reference whenever I can find one. So I was thrilled to see the Starship Vancouver.
That's a Canadian reference? I wasn't sure.
Oh, yeah. Also,
that's right. There's a Vancouver, Washington, but nobody thinks of it.
I'm just kidding. Because it's Canadian. What isn't it? It's parliamentary class. So
that's what I was going to bring up. Thank you, Norman. Steals thunder from Lou. Okay.
Yep. That's going in the emails.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if you thought that was deliberate as well. If we're going to put in a Canadian reference, then we're going to use that.
Did you notice they were eating poutine?
No.
Jet was eating poutine in the mess.
Was he really?
For lunch. Yep. So that's definitely Canadian.
Oh,
it is sure. Canadian. I did not notice. I'll have to watch it a third time now. Thank you.
Is this why everyone on the Cerritos is eating like tacos and stuff?
Right? All the Mexican food, LA represent. Yeah, they have poutine on the Vancouver, which if you didn't learn until figured out very recently, it's fries with gravy.
Pretty much.
It's fries with gravy and cheese.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay,
cheese
I stand corrected.
It ain't poutine. I'll tell you that right now. And there's arguments in terms of what kind of cheese can be used. If you're allowed, you're not allowed to use curds. It has to be like melted cheese. There's so many degrees and variations and combinations. It's infinite diversity in infinite poutine combinations. I will say that.
All right. Good to know.
I was wondering why the password was Riker, or is that significant at all?
Why not?
Why not? Okay. And lover is Boimler's safe word.
Lover.
Or could have been the parasite safe word. I will say that.
I want that as an action figure so badly. I think that bug was so cute. He's a love bug. I called him Herbie.
A love bug.
And I was hoping somebody would mention the movie, but it was just too obvious, and I am not going there.
Lover.
Norm, you said that you were a big fan of Community?
I am.
Uh-huh. Britta's character is played by actress Jillian Jacobs, not Jacobson.
This is the live show. I can only edit so much. But I did say Britta, so you got to give me points on that.
It is a Britta, and actually we have one in our kitchen right now.
All right, Lou, I got you on for one more minute, then I got to take the next call.
Oh, okay. I'm not last tonight. All right, then I'm going to ask one question, or no, the one observation that I was going to make is, even when Mariner is wrong and shown to be wrong, she ends up being right. She was wrong about Boimler's girlfriend being a parasite, but she was actually right, as it turns out, about the parasite. Now, was that just a coincidence, or are we saying that she has now become infallible and Spockian in nature?
Well, I think that coincidence plays a lot in that dynamic. You know, it's like she was thinking like this is where it could go. It just ended up going there, right? Because something was off. Something was amiss. Something was amiss.
Something was off. Her spidey sense is tingling. Or if we're allowed to use the other universe, and I'm not sure that we are. And I was very impressed with that half-second where Boimler was surprised by Mariner in all his glory, and we saw, even in a cartoon, a black mark over his private parts.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't know why, and I had to double check, rewind to make sure, but I was impressed with it, keeping the ratings. The ratings is PG or 13 or whatever you have it there.
TV 14, if I could recall correctly.
I don't remember. I mean, we're doing a series that could be in any category. I'll fill you in on that next week. I didn't realize that somebody's coming behind me, so
yeah,
one more.
The premises, and hopefully I'll talk to one of you or more next week.
Well,
Very cool.
thank you for coming in. The Clown Prince of Mission Log. That would be Captain Lou from Canada. Good to see you,
sir.
And coming up on the rear, making sure that I gave you a couple minutes here to actually talk to us, a fellow podcaster extraordinaire, one of the most talented prop masters I've ever known, and somebody that I've really need to have lunch with soon, because we haven't been able to get that handled in real life.
It's been a week or two, but we'll pencil it in for 21, I'm sure.
How you doing, Darren? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Norm. Great to see you guys live, and glad you could fit me in.
You know Shar, right?
And Shar, as always, we recently had her on our podcast, so we had her first.
I get around.
I don't have to shameless plug you. That would be SETI Alpha 3 on the Nerd Party Network.
That's right. We're Philip, Daniel, and I are still talking about Star Trek, like 6 some odd years after we started that great journey, and we're rounding out towards episode 200, and not too long. We're in the 180s right now, so. But it's a lot of fun talking about Lower Decks now. We're in the era of new Star Trek, which is a lot of fun. You may not know that from my shirt and or background, but that's why I'm Dr. Sci-Fi, not Dr. Star Trek.
Your infinite diversity, like personified, my friend. Yeah, and you sound so good. You must be using your actual podcast stuff, because you actually sound really good.
Yes, this is a podcast setup. We try to always make ourselves sound as good as possible.
It's funny. It's like we're having like a little Trek FM reunion here. Different shows.
A little bit. A lot of familiar faces. Yes.
Yeah. So we have about a couple minutes to talk about what you want to talk about, and then the show is wrapped. So you got the final word, sir.
Well, a lot of I've been watching the live, and a lot of the great bits have already been spoken for. I still think my favorite joke is where the one ship just parks over the other in the very beginning. It's so subtle, but it's so funny. Like every time I picture it in my mind. But this was a fun episode, and I think I also really liked the boardroom scenes where they're all just arguing about, and that's so Star Trek. Like it made me think of TNG episodes where they're talking about like shipping the drugs between planets, or they're brokering the new unstable wormhole. And it's like we always see these scenes, and that was actually really fun to see the captain kind of stepping into that role, that kind of diplomatic role, and it was a lot of fun. And we, over at City Alpha 3 are big Rutherford fans. So we gave this episode a little bit more of a higher ranking, as it had a lot more Rutherford in it. We were waiting for him to get the A plot. We're not sure if it's ever going to happen, but maybe this whole season is going to be Boimler. Or actually, we just want the pairings to shift up. We want to see Rutherford and Boimler go on an adventure, and we want to see Tendi and Mariner go get into some trouble. Like that's half the fun, is when you shake up the pairings. But we've gotten a lot of 2 and 2, but we'll see. We're only halfway there.
We'll probably get there.
I can feel Darren already working on kind of like his cybernetic implant, for the next.
Oh, there you go. So good. That's for the convention, the Vulcan edition with the.
You got to put that,
Yeah.
It almost looks like a Dragon Ball Z like heads up display, like you see a lot. But no, that would be fun. I anticipate we see a lot of those next time we're actually able to get together.
And also, one of the coolest last things I wanted to point out is like when Mariner was thrusting her way to the orbital platform, even on the encounter suits, even on those suits, you still have the logo on the soles of their shoes.
On the soles of their shoes, yeah.
Fantastic.
Indeed. Can we also very quickly mention the Boimler cosplay? Because that's going to be so huge if we have conventions in 2021. I love how he consults the
With
computer.
the different jacket pieces.
And he's like, show me all the things that are cool. And he apparently can't decide on any of them. So he just mashes them all into one thing. It's so good.
I actually went right to, is someone going to be streaking with like a black box over their stuff?
Oh, I mean, that could happen too, definitely.
I mean, that would be a cosplay.
Don't give Todd any ideas, okay?
He'd do it.
That's why I said don't give him any ideas.
It just takes one good evening.
You'd be like, or this awesome 3-piece jacket that looks like a mixed match of the thrift store. That let's go with that. It's a little more covering.
It was literally like all three Back to the Futures like barfed into one. Right, that entire look. All right, the various stages of Marty McFly,
and it was cool. But I was looking for the callback. Like I don't know if those are actually supposed to be from any specific thing because they're kind of nondescript. But it was very funny. It reminded me of when Saru was kind of asking the computer for the best list of best captains, and he's like the list of best fashion of what's cool. And it's just apparently the computer isn't really good at making those lists. But
he did moonwalk though, so someone was on his list, right?
And it was still working because she was still fawning over him. I mean, Parasite notwithstanding, but
at that point, right? Yeah, even though he was doing everything wrong.
All right, my friend. I wish we had more time to talk.
Yeah,
no worries.
We're up.
It was good to see you, though. Man, we should do this again sometime. Maybe next show, one of the next shows. Yeah, but please call in again.
Cool.
Will do. Thank you guys.
And I promise you, we'll get that lunch maybe in Cerritos. We should all meet up.
Cerritos.
Oh, there you go. Or Merced. We'll start doing. We could make
Merced.
the grand
That's a
tour.
drive.
The grand tour of the
USS
California
Merced.
class.
All right.
Yep.
All right, bud. Let's pencil that in. All right.
All right.
Take care. Thanks for calling in, bud. It's good to see you.
Larry Nemechek has a whole new tour thing that he could do now. He could do the tour of the California cities for all the ships that they have that are California class in this show. At some point, he could do that.
I'll tell you what. Actually, so here's the thing. Dominic, I actually do look at the chat, but if I stopped to do the chat, I wouldn't have time to do the show because I can either do the show or the chat, but not both, not with this many callers coming in.
You need the cybernetic implant.
I need something. Right? But I do appreciate everybody coming in, chatting, and having a great time on your own in the chat, which I think is fantastic. But
awesome.
I told you, Shar, it's like when you signed on, it's like we are going to go a mile a minute. Lower Decks gets a lot of great fans, a lot of great chat going on in Mission Log Live. We have a lot of great fans too coming in, talk about the show and all of the great ideas that we got to and even didn't get to because we didn't even get a chance to talk about our own list. But
no, but that's how fast this hour did go. It was amazing, though. Thank you all so much.
And thank you for joining us, Shar. I know this was last minute, but I know that you are also so prepped and ready to go talking about Lower Decks. I know how much you enjoy this show.
That's just it, though. I love this show so much that I've watched it a few times. I just dig it. And when you asked me, I took a couple deep breaths. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm doing it.
I have one last thing for you to do. So if you take a look at the show notes, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Well, again, I wanted to thank Shar for joining us. And Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, executive producer Rod Roddenberry. Technical production on Mission Log Live is by the incomparable Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from the Roddenberry Podcast Network, including not just Mission Log, but Women at Warp, Priority One, The Trek Files, your daily Star Trek news, and Shabam.
Shabam!
If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, hey, give us a look over there at patreon.com/missionlog. Thanks to everyone who joined us live or will join us later. And thanks, Shar, again for joining us tonight as our special guest co-host. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to talking with you next week.